Most people believe that to succeed, they need big goals. But the truth is, goals only give direction. They don't guarantee arrival. A map doesn't take you to the destination. The road does, and that road is called a system. Goals give you vision, but systems give you progress. Dreamers say, I want. Doers say, I'm doing. And between those two, the difference isn't in the dream, it's in the structure. Everyone has felt that burst of excitement when planning, writing down what they'll do, imagining brilliant results. But when reality hits with work pressure, fatigue, temptations, the goal fades and you slip back into old patterns. Not because you're weak, but because you haven't built a system strong enough to protect your intentions from life's chaos. Motivation is like a spark bright for a few seconds, then gone. A system is the engine that keeps running even when you don't feel inspired. That's why successful people don't rely on moods. They don't wait to feel like it. They operate by principle. They don't ask, do I feel like doing this today? They ask, what's the next step in my system? That's how progress becomes habit, and habit becomes instinct. Because if every day you have to fight to find motivation, you'll lose. But if you have a system, that system will carry you even on the days you want to stop. You don't need perfection, you need structure. Because structure keeps direction steady when emotions fluctuate. Success, after all, is not a moment, it's a chain of deliberate, repeated actions. Goals answer, where do you want to go? But systems answer, how will you get there? And that's what separates dreamers from real achievers. When you have a system, every small step counts. Every day moves you closer, not by luck, but by design. If you feel stuck today, it's probably not because your goal is wrong, but because you haven't built the road to reach it. Remember, no one fails for lack of dreams. They fail because they lack a system to make those dreams real. Most people fail not because they lack goals, but because they lack a game plan, a clear enough plan to turn desire into execution. They eagerly write, I want to lose 10 kilos, start a business, write a book. But after that, nothing happens. No schedule, no process, no system. Just the initial rush of excitement, that fleeting emotion that vanishes by week 2. A goal without a plan is only a wish. You need more than intention, you need structure. Think of it this way, your goal is the destination, but your system is the road. You can dream of a distant city, but without a map or route, you'll get lost. Even with energy and ambition, they'll drain away if you don't know where you're going. But when you have a roadmap, every step, however small, is real progress. Someone who wants to write a book can't just say, I'll write a 300-page novel. They need a system. Every morning from 7 to 8, I'll write 500 words, no matter how I feel. That's how desire turns into momentum. Success doesn't come from emotion. It comes from clarity in repeated action. And the simpler the plan, the easier it is to maintain. A good system doesn't exhaust you. It simplifies life because you no longer waste energy deciding what to do each day. When you know exactly what the next step is, you don't need motivation. You just do it. Every repetition strengthens belief, not because you've arrived, but because you're advancing. And that sense of control, I know I'm moving in the right direction, fuels you more powerfully than any short-lived inspiration. Once your system is built, the next level is automation, automatic habits. Because discipline isn't about forcing yourself forever, it's about making the right actions reflexive. Willpower is unstable. Some days you wake full of energy. Other days you don't want to move. If your success depends on inspiration, you'll live in emotional turbulence. But when actions become habits, you've switched from motivation to mechanism. Don't try to change your whole life in a week. Don't turn your mornings into a list of 10 rituals. Start small. One action, one habit, one system. Walk 10 minutes after dinner. Write 200 words before bed. Track your spending daily. When that becomes natural, add another brick. Build the first floor solid before adding the second. Because success isn't about doing more in a day, it's about doing the right thing every day. When a habit becomes second nature, you don't have to remember it, you just live it. And that's when you're no longer trying to succeed, you're living inside the system that creates success itself. You may have strong willpower, but if your environment pulls in the opposite direction, you'll lose. Not because you're weak, but because the system around you doesn't support your direction. We often believe inner strength is enough to resist all temptation, but in truth, willpower is a limited resource. Environment, on the other hand, silently shapes your habits. You are not only the product of your choices, but also of your surroundings. A phone full of notifications, a cluttered desk, a kitchen packed with junk food, all of these are reverse programming your goals. And then, you blame yourself for lacking discipline when in fact, you're just swimming upstream in an environment built for distraction. So instead of fighting yourself, redesign the playing field. Don't try to be stronger, be smarter. If you want focus, clear away what scatters it. Turn off notifications, block distracting apps, tidy your workspace. Make it easier to get in the zone than to procrastinate. If you want to eat healthy, don't rely on willpower. Redesign your kitchen, remove junk food, stock up on good ingredients. When the right choice is the easy choice, temptation loses its power. There's a simple rule that successful people live by. What's easy gets done. What's nearby gets used. If you have to dig through the closet to find your workout clothes, you'll never work out. But if you lay them out the night before, all you have to do is put them on and go. You've already won half the battle. If the book you want to read is on your nightstand, you'll read it. But if your phone is the first thing you touch, you'll get lost in endless noise. Success isn't just effort, it's smart arrangement. Look around you, your desk, your bedroom, your phone, your social media, even your relationships. Each is either lifting you up or pulling you down. The environment is never neutral. It always nudges you toward a habit, either better or worse. So don't just build systems in your mind. Extend them into your physical world. Redesign your space as if your future depends on it, because it does. Organize your life so the right thing becomes easy and the wrong thing becomes hard. That's not just a skill, it's a life strategy. When your environment supports you, you no longer need to force yourself. You simply flow with the current you've designed. And at that point, you're no longer fighting life, you're being carried by it in the right direction. Most people think success must be dramatic, inspiring, and full of excitement. But the truth is, real success is quite boring. No fireworks, no applause, no spotlight. It's built from small, repeated, precise actions done consistently, even when no one's watching. Ordinary people chase novelty. Exceptional ones find rhythm and stick to it. Because they know victory doesn't come from bursts of effort, but from steady execution of the right moves. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You just need to do what's right every day. Professionals don't ask, "Do I feel like doing it today?" They ask, "What does my system say I should do today?" Top athletes train through the monotony. The best entrepreneurs don't change strategies every week. They refine and execute what works. They understand that stability creates speed, and speed creates distance. Boredom is the sign you're on the right path, because only when work becomes instinct can you do it effortlessly. When your system runs smoothly, you're no longer trying, you're simply living in the rhythm of progress. But to sustain that rhythm, there's a second rule: track it like it's your job. Because you can't improve what you don't measure. Many people feel like they're improving, but in reality they're just busy. They think they're progressing, but feelings aren't data. You need to know, not guess. Tracking isn't self-punishment, it's self-awareness. Whether it's finances, health, or skill, numbers don't lie. Make tracking part of your system. It doesn't need to be fancy: a notebook, a whiteboard, or a simple app. Write down what you did, how long it took, and what you achieved. 10 minutes a day of self-auditing is worth more than 10 hours of blind effort. When you see numbers go up, you'll want to keep going. When they plateau, you'll know what to adjust. That's the power of awareness, knowing exactly where you are on your journey's map. Tracking doesn't just create progress, it builds belief. Every checkmark, every small upward shift proves to your subconscious, I can change. And when that belief becomes reality, you no longer rely on motivation, you live by momentum. Because success isn't a giant leap, it's a small, precise rhythm, repeated daily and measured every step of the way. Success doesn't come from one giant leap. It comes from thousands of small, repeated steps. True victory doesn't explode. It accumulates. Every small action, every time you keep a promise to yourself, is a brick laid on the path toward a stronger version of you. Yet most people stay stuck because they fail to value the small wins. They wait for the turning point, the breakthrough, or the perfect moment, and while waiting for something grand, they overlook what's real, the small daily progress quietly compounding into massive momentum. Momentum isn't magic. It's the byproduct of consistent action stacked over time. Each small win is a link in the chain of success, individually, tiny, but together unstoppable. Think about making your bed, finishing a task, drinking enough water, reading a few pages, or writing a few lines. Each may seem trivial, but every time you do one, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I keep my word. That's how you start rebuilding trust with yourself. That trust is the foundation of all achievement. When you continually prove to yourself that you do what you say, you're not just acting, you're reshaping identity. You're no longer someone who tries, but someone who does. And when that identity sinks into your subconscious action becomes natural, you don't have to push yourself because you already know you will. Set realistic standards. Place the bar low enough to step over but high enough to require effort. If you've never exercised, don't promise 60 minutes a day. Start with 10. If you've never written, write 100 words each morning. If you want to save money, start with 5% of your income. Each small win is evidence, and when you stack enough evidence, you'll trust yourself more than any motivational speech could ever convince you. Remember, momentum works like compound interest. One win leads to the next. One good day sets up the next. Gradually, what was once difficult becomes normal. And when doing the right thing becomes your new normal, you've won. Don't wait for a grand victory to feel worthy. Look at the small steps you're taking today, because those not the dramatic breakthroughs are what create lasting success. Success doesn't need to be glamorous. It only needs one thing, the steady stacking of small wins until you become unstoppable. No one is strong all the time. There will be days when you're tired, unmotivated, or life simply throws chaos your way. If your system only works when everything is perfect, it's not a system, it's luck. Real success comes from preparing for bad days before they arrive. Understand this, life owes you no ideal conditions. It will test you. And if you don't have backup plans, your efforts can collapse from just one lost day of rhythm. Smart people don't try to avoid problems, they build fail-safes so they can keep moving even against the wind. A strong system isn't rigid, it flexes. When you can't give 100%, give the minimum. Can't make it to the gym, do push-ups for 15 minutes at home, no time for journaling, write 3 short sentences, can't meal prep for the week, eat one simple clean meal. The secret is maintaining rhythm even at 30% capacity. Stopping completely breaks momentum, but small movement keeps your identity intact. I'm still going. A resilient person isn't one who never falls, but one who always finds a way to continue. Prepare a minimum version for every important habit in your life. Call it your emergency plan, so simple you can't make excuses. And when a bad day comes, don't wait for motivation. Just open the list and do it. The goal isn't perfection. It's connection to your system, your rhythm, your identity. As long as you maintain that link, you're still winning. Each recovery builds resilience, the rare trait of those who cannot be defeated. And for your system to endure, you must learn one more thing. Stop using your brain as a secretary. Don't force your memory to act as your calendar. The brain was made to create, not to remember every task. Every time you try to hold deadlines, plans, ideas, and errands in your head, you're draining the energy meant for focus. A cluttered mind is the enemy of performance. Use tools, digital calendars, checklists, time management, apps, notebooks, or whiteboards. Get everything out of your head. The fewer things you have to remember, the more space you have to think big. Writing things down reveals structure of your day, your week, your life. It turns the vague into the concrete. And when everything is laid out clearly, your mind becomes lighter, sharper, freer. Don't try to be the hero who carries the world in their head. True strength isn't about how much you can remember. It's about the system you build so you don't have to, yet still stay fully in control. A system only becomes sustainable when it is tied to your identity. Because actions are just the surface, the real foundation lies in what you believe about who you are. If you say I'm trying to work out, your subconscious still sees you as someone who hasn't. But if you say I'm a person who takes care of my body, your behavior naturally adjusts to reflect that belief. Same action, different identity, different result. Every lasting change begins with how you see yourself. You don't have to force yourself to live in alignment with identity, you just live consistently with it. When reading, discipline, or keeping promises become part of who you are, you no longer need motivation because that's simply what people like you do. From there you must build the second principle. Make the essentials non-negotiable. As long as an action remains optional, there will always be an escape hatch, and the greatest enemy of discipline is tomorrow. Choose 3 core behaviors in your system, the ones with the biggest impact on your future, and lock them in. No debate, no delay, no bargaining. Just like you never question whether you'll brush your teeth, these habits must become instinct. Exercise, writing, studying, managing finances, whatever they are. Treat them as obligations to yourself, not things you'll get to if you have time. Because every time you allow compromise, you're teaching your subconscious that your word isn't trustworthy. But each time you follow through, you're reinforcing one powerful truth. I am someone who does what I say. Yet a system is not a prison, it's a living organism that requires constant tuning. No one designs the perfect plan on the first try. You'll find certain routines don't fit your rhythm, certain tools become clutter, or certain goals lose relevance. Don't treat that as failure, it's feedback. Every week, every month, reflect what's working, what's heavy, what needs to go. Growth doesn't come from clinging to old plans. It comes from observing, adjusting, and refining. A great system is flexible within its structure. The more optimized it is, the lighter and more natural it feels. The less resistance, the smoother the flow. And when you live within a system that's both firm and flexible, you no longer have to force yourself to live well, you're supported to live well. That's when discipline becomes nature, actions become beliefs, and progress becomes inevitable. Because you're not just following a plan, you're living as the person your system was designed to create. There will be days when you wake up and don't want to do anything, no inspiration, no energy, no warrior spirit left in you. That's when you finally understand why wise people don't bet on feelings, they bet on systems. Because motivation is a subtle traitor today, it stands beside you tomorrow. It disappears without a trace. But a system, if built correctly, will carry you through your hardest days. When everything feels chaotic, the system keeps you aligned like a compass in the storm. You don't need to feel like doing it. You just do the next step in the chain. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation for that. You just do it because it's part of your living system. So why, for the things that truly matter, your health, learning, finances, creativity, would you let emotions decide? Successful people don't live by mood, they live by rhythm. They don't let feelings steer, they let processes guide. When emotion weakens, structure takes over. When energy runs out, habit keeps the wheel turning. That's when a system reveals its true power. It frees you from emotional dependency. You don't have to inspire yourself every day. You just have to trust the process you've built. When you do the right things long enough, you create internal momentum, and then the system starts pulling you. Those without systems must restart every time motivation dies. They reignite their fire only to let it fade again 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. The difference between those who persist and those who quit lies in one simple truth. The persistent have a structure that shields them from fluctuation. When others rest, they move. When others wait for inspiration, they've already done the work, not because they're more talented, but because they have a system in place of willpower. Now you know, success doesn't belong to the most passionate. It belongs to the best prepared. You can dream, you can plan, but only when you build a system that keeps you moving. When the spirit wants to stop, do you truly win? So don't just leave this moment inspired. Leave it with a decision. Today, choose one thing, one habit to build, one distraction to remove, one process to strengthen. Keep it small, but do it now. Then let the system you create begin to guide your life. Because in the end, success isn't born from the moments you're fired up. It's built in the moments you keep moving when nothing inside you wants to. When discipline becomes default and system becomes instinct, that's when you stop chasing goals, because the goals start chasing you.